What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm. Secondly, if you're new to the channel or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to share this information with your family and friends. And it does also help give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And with the introduction out of the way, let's now get into today's news. And in today's news, we are headed to Madison, Wisconsin. We're headed to Madison, Wisconsin. And the story that I'm going to be delivering to you today really expresses and highlights the corruptness of government. And I know that's a very simplistic statement to make because we all know that government is corrupt. But just look at this here and look at how ridiculous this is, because this, what I'm going to show you right now, shouldn't even be a topic of discussion. City of Madison allocates $700,000 in C-19 relief money to supporting illegal immigrants. Why on God's green earth would any city and or state have C-19 funds still left over? The American Rescue Plan was signed into law and the money was doled out. What was it, back in 2021? We're now 3 years removed from that, 4 years removed from the original C-19 illness, and you're still sitting on funds. Why? This is just like when the news broke a few months back about Brandon Johnson giving $95 million in C-19 funds to illegal immigrants in Chicago. And then he had to reveal the fact that he still had $400 million in C-19 funds left over, aside from the $95 million. Why in the world, now speaking on Chicago briefly, do you have $500 million in C-19 funds lying around? Why wasn't that issued out properly and accordingly to the U.S. citizens of said population? And the same question can be asked here concerning Madison, Wisconsin. No one should be holding on to this type of money still as it pertains to funds that came from the American Rescue Plan. But it just goes to show, and I'll say this in closing before I head into the article. I know it's not the most popular thing to say, because people will tend to tell you all the time, well, government can't solve your problems. Government can't solve your problems. The reality is this: government can solve your problems, and it can solve problems overall in said city or state if that's the actual goal. If the actual goal is to solve problems concerning and surrounding crime and poverty, violence, failing infrastructure, failing school systems, they could solve the problems if they wanted to. And as you can see, they definitely have the funds, okay? Whether they're printing the money out of thin air or they're taking funds that were supposed to be used for a very specific reason and then pocketing it and holding on to it for God knows whatever the reason being. So they could do these things if they want to. They just continuously elect not to. But that's enough of me ranting and raving right now. Let me step down off my soapbox and let's get into this actual article, because that's what you came here for, not to hear me pontificate over, how irritated I am with C-19 funds still getting left over when they should have been spent and doled out already to the citizen population. Right. So let's get into the actual information. And the article reads as such. The city of Madison, Wisconsin is spending $700,000 in federal C-19 relief fund on aid for illegal immigrants. The funding was disclosed in Madison's quarterly compliance report for the fourth quarter of 2023 and highlighted in a letter written Thursday by State Senator Dewey Strobel demanding further information. This earmark for illegal immigrants is alarming since you point out these individuals would normally be ineligible for direct public assistance in many cases, he wrote, requesting further information about the allocation of funds under the state's public records law. Over $600,000 of the allocated funds have been spent on services for illegal immigrants, such as paying for utility bills, providing food assistance, and helping them access legal representation. The funding comes from the American Rescue Plan, President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion C-19 stimulus package, which was passed in 2021, right after Biden took office. Madison received $47.2 million from the American Rescue Plan's state and local recovery funds component, and $22.8 million of those funds have been allocated towards community investment, including $1 million of emerging needs support for illegal immigrants and senior citizens. The bill requires quarterly transparency reports, and the most recent report caught the attention of Strobel and a conservative watchdog organization, the Institute for Reforming Government. It is troubling to learn that the city of Madison is funneling taxpayers' dollars intended to help Wisconsinites to illegal immigrants. Taxpayers need answers, and indeed they do, because why do you still have this much money left over when it should have already been doled out to the citizen population? But once again, taxpayers need answers. Our team at the Center for Investigative Oversight is committed to working with our state and federal partners to bring to light answers for the hardworking taxpayers of our state. IRG Director of Oversight Jake Curtis said in a statement, "Some of the funding for illegal immigrants is being allocated to nonprofit community partners through a grant application process that began in March of 2022. And just to pick a moment to pause, as you can see here, and I've read this numerous times concerning how other cities and states handle providing funds to illegal immigrants, how they circumvent law is by giving the money over to nonprofits. And then it's up to the nonprofits to set up a system and structure by which legal immigrants can apply for said funds to get what they need. They give it to these nonprofits that none of us ever heard of. But that's how they circumvent the legality of it all, or the illegality of it all, for lack of better words. The funding was designed for services to residents who are undocumented and reported under the negative economic impacts expenditure category under the quarterly report. The city of Madison, using taxpayer dollars to provide for illegal immigrants, is yet another example of the waste and abuse of C-19 relief funds. And I have to agree with him on that. There needs to be accountability for American tax dollars, and that starts by cracking down on this misuse, said Representative Tom Tiffany. Among the immigration nonprofits to receive grants from Madison is the Community Immigration Law Center, a legal clinic that gives legal services to illegal immigrants facing deportation. Madison awarded the organization $100,000 in December of 2022. Organizations such as the Catholic Multicultural Center and the African Center of Community Development also received portions of the grant money as well. ARPA funding was a vital part of Madison's response to the C-19 illness and its wide-reaching impact on our community, said Madison Mayor Satya Rose Conway, a nonpartisan affiliated with the Democratic Party. Of course, a nonpartisan affiliated with the Democratic Party. Translation, you're a Democrat. Just keep it a buck, right? Let's be honest. But anyways, she would continue to say, "We are proud of the work our community partners did with this funding and the difference that it made for some of the hardest hit residents and communities." Translation, we are proud and happy with the fact that we were successfully able to hide the fact that we were still holding on to money that should have went out to the citizen population, because more than likely we knew beforehand we would have to tap into these funds to deal with the migrant crisis before the American public even realized a migrant crisis was upon us. And that really puts me in that mind state. If I may take a moment to put my tinfoil hat on, take this hat off and put the tinfoil hat on. When I see what's happening in Madison, Wisconsin, and you place on top of that what I discussed concerning Chicago, how Chicago had $500 million left over in C-19 funding. What that tells me, in my opinion, I believe, I assume, if I put my tinfoil hat on, it tells me and speaks to me the thought that when the C-19 money went out, many of these cities already knew and understood, we're not going to do right by the citizens with this. What we're going to do is hold on to this for the coming migrant crisis now that Biden is in office. That's what we're going to do. We're going to hold on to this. And if need be, we'll be able to tap into these funds to pay for the migrant crisis affecting our cities, because we already know and understand beforehand what's coming, even before the citizen population understand. That's why there's still millions of dollars left over in these cities, and it's completely ridiculous. And it goes to show how much your local officials lied to you when you have all the issues that are plaguing your city and all the issues that are plaguing your community, but then they look at you and say, where are we going to get the money from? Maybe we can put some legislation on the ballot, and during the next, election, we can make the city decide on whether or not they want to do X, Y, and Z. But outside of that, we don't know what to do. No, they know exactly what to do. But the problem is that they withhold too much information and too much money from the citizen population to ever solve any problems. They lie to you over and over and over again and mislead you over and over and over again. And this is just another example of that. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So please hit the like button on your way out, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and share this video out on your social media platforms as well. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link is in the description box below and will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.